A channeled message about something that your higher self wants you to know about yourself. And these are going to be insights that came through from a client session, but she gave me permission to share in case it supports you on your journey. So you're going to want to save this video so you can come back to it in the future. I'm going to be saying this over you as though it is your own reading. That way it goes in your subconscious at a more expansive level. And I'm going to be reading from my notes here so I stay on track. And so when I went into your energy field, you were holding a bundle of carrots, almost like you had pulled them up out of the ground and holding them like a bushel. And I said, what you doing with those carrots? I was kind of giving Bugs Bunny, you know, like he's eating carrots, like, what's up, doc? And you said, I want to make a stew, but I don't want to chop the carrots up. This has to do with your empathic abilities, also towards inanimate objects, because you understand that everything is a conscious being. So maybe you were a vegetarian, or you are one, or contemplating being one, but there's like a dichotomy, like a contradiction within us of, well, I don't want to eat those either. This one higher self said sometimes overthinking can be detrimental. Like, obviously you're having those thought processes because you're a very intentional person. They wanted to explain it from a higher conceptual lens. I can do a reperspective. And I looked at you and said, have you ever thought about the carrots actually wanting to be a part of you? They want to help your cells grow. Kind of like you would be in a relationship with someone. Obviously you wouldn't eat your friend, but carrots kind of serve in that manner. But they want to like merge with your energetic system. And I was asking, why are carrots coming up specifically? And they help with your immune system and fighting off infections. And, you know, we're heading into the winter season when a lot of people get colds and flus and things of that nature. I said, but let's see more specifically what's going on in your system. And I took a carrot from you and I was looking through it almost like it was transparent. And the only way that I would have been able to see what I'm about to share with you is via looking through the carrot and its perceptual lens. And so that's where your higher self was mentioning, like, hey, the carrot actually wants to be a part of you. Now, before I get into this part, the client who I was reading for had a lot of stuck energy in their shoulder right here, like in between their heart and their left shoulder. This might be in a different place for you. And even if it is, it'll still clear it out. So it sometimes is very interesting where energy gets stuck within us. And so I said, can we astral project in this part of your body and see what's going on? And when I went in there, and wherever that might be for you right now, okay, I saw paper streamers, like we were kind of like you would hang at a party, and they're all separated from one another, and they were representing scar tissue that has been built up in your body. Now, scar tissue can be from a physical symptom, or it can be from an energetic symptom. But what I was perceiving was some type of impact. Now, an impact, again, though, can be physical or it can be energetic if something traumatic happened to us. Now, let me get my stethoscope out so I can hear what happened. And when I did that and placed it on the area, I heard, ow, that hurts, get out. And when we yelled, get out, it was from a place of rage. Like it transcended above anger, and it was like an expulsion. And I was asking the voice, hey, are you telling me to get out because I'm in your energy field and you don't want me in here? Or are you expressing that from a memory of something that has happened in the past? And the voice said, it's from a memory. So, okay, can you tell me about how old you are? Because obviously this is a past version. And they said around 20 years old. It may not be specifically 20, but, you know, young 20, around that age. We had a very negative relationship around us, or maybe multiple negative relationships that heavily impacted us. What ended up happening is building up walls to protect self and not feeling safe around others. Like there's a lot of mistrust going on and kind of like shrinking within and like distancing others away. Now, this is where we come in and work on forward momentum instead of digging through the trauma. Like sometimes that's not necessary. And so I looked at them, I said, hey, would you like to come to a sanctuary with me to have a different experience? because that version of self has been caught in a loop. Like, this is happening over and over and over again. And we need to show them, like, hey, we are in a new reality now. So we don't have hyper independence wounds, okay, or mistrust of others. And they said yes. And I brought them to this really beautiful flower garden. Okay, it was like botanical gardens, and there was water fountains everywhere. It was very sunny and serene. And there was birds all over the place, all different types of birds. And birds, from a psychological standpoint, are very beneficial for soothing our central nervous system, because back in the day, if there was danger or predators, I mean, that still happens to this day, but we were using it as like a navigation system. When the birds leave the area, you need to leave too. Okay, that is your first indicator. But if the birds are hanging around, that means where you're at is safe. So even today, if you have an agitated nervous system, you can put on bird sounds, or watch birds, or go out and listen to them, or, you know, watch them on tube, and it will help soothe your system. So we got out some binoculars and we're looking at all these birds with one another, like bird watching. I said, you know what would be even more fun? If we actually turned ourselves into birds, so we could have a more immersive experience and be with them in the trees. And you ended up turning yourself into a bluebird. Bluebirds in shamanism are representative of joy, positivity, and optimism. And I said, why do you think you chose a bluebird specifically? And then it was really funny because you and I were going like, tweet, 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 tweet. And we were like talking to one another. We could still telepathically hear each other. And you said, this is who I am trying to be. A person of joy, positivity, and optimism. And I said, what do you mean? You are one right now. You are the bluebird. I said, there are a billion different things that you could have identified with. Like, you could have literally turned into anything. I said, as a matter of fact, I'm not even the one that picked the sanctuary. That came from your consciousness. I am just mirror reflecting that. We could have gone anywhere, but you picked this place of peace and tranquility, and such a happy, bright bird to associate yourself with. I said, this is actually your natural state of being. You just needed to be in a different environment to see it. And the environment, you know, obviously means not being stuck in the past situation and now being in the sanctuary, but that also means your consciousness, the people that you're surrounding yourself with, your mindset, and the tools and techniques that you've picked up over the years, like holding boundaries and working on trusting other people and communicating and self-leadership. Higher Self said, a lot of making shifts in life is actually embracing what we already hold within us, instead of striving for something that we see as external. For example, we could hold the thought process of, one day I will be the bluebird, a person of joy, positivity, and optimism. But the perceptual lenses that you're looking at reality is, I will be one day. And so you're getting mirrored back opportunities, people, and experiences that are lacking positivity and joy and optimism because you are not associating yourself with those things. What Higher Self wants us to do is say, I am already the bluebird. That is my natural state of being, because then you're going to get reality reflecting back to you, experiences, people, and opportunities of joy, positivity, and optimism. Higher Self said what we need to do is disidentify with the muck that has nothing to do with our soul. So I was telling your 20-year-olds a story about my life. How the other day I was laying in bed and I was thinking about, there's all these things that have happened in my past that I'm not super proud of, right? Like carrying like a little bit of shame and guilt of, now that I know what I know, I would have done things differently. But at the same time, I say, you know what? I have always tried to be the best me. Even when I was experiencing trauma and programming and oppressive systems and just things that are not my fault that I was born into and I had no idea about, and I had to learn all of these things to shift my mindset and clear trauma energy out of my body. I said, none of that has to do with me. Okay? When I took all that stuff away, I found me. And I have always been this person. I just couldn't see with all those filter lenses and distortions. And that's kind of what your higher self is saying about you, of, hey, sometimes we're feeling like we're not the most positive or optimistic person, but that's actually who you are underneath all of the external circumstances. And the more that you take those things off, the more that you will recognize that about self. But it also helps to start conscientiously embracing that of, I am the bluebird. Higher self mentioned it might be beneficial to get a physical representor of a bluebird. Like maybe you have like a calendar of them. I have a mini figurine that sits next to my computer, or you could get some jewelry, or a shirt with a bluebird on it. Just something that you can see in your external to help remind you. I was speaking again to your 20-year-old and I said, how are you feeling now? And they said, like, I can leave the pain in the past. I said, is there something else we can do with that pain? Because if we're leaving it in the past, it still kind of feels like it's wrapped around us, like we didn't really let it go all the way. I said, what would you like to do instead? And they said, I want to give it to Mother Gaia to be transmuted. I said, that's great. So you and I are in the garden area and we're digging a hole with our hands and we put the pain in the past and covered it up. And I said, what would you like to turn it into? I said, it can be literally anything in existence. And they said, oh, I get to choose? And I said, yeah, this is your experience. Hey, choose your own adventure. This is when this gigantic sunflower blossomed out of the ground and turned its face up towards the sky. And I asked, why did you pick a sunflower? And you said, so it can soak up the warmth of the sun. And you also wanted to give a gift to all of the other birds to admire in the garden area, and they can eat the seeds. In summarization, that 20-year-old version of you that was holding on to that pain of the past, we have moved that energy up and out of your field. So I would love to hear in the comments if any of the symbolism really stuck out to you, if it was a synchronicity like the carrots, the bluebird, or the sunflower. And if you really enjoy channeled messages like these, I have a 21-day challenge coming up. It's called Say Yes to Magic, and we are going to reawaken enchantment in everyday life. I'm super excited about it. You can join in my bio. It's called Say Yes to Magic Challenge. And as always, I'm wishing you and your inner children an absolutely magical day.